What is going on, everyone? Today I'm here with Peter. He is someone I got connected with that actually works with a lot of brands and course creators and gurus that I really look up to. Peter, I'm super excited to chat today. I'm pumped you're letting me record this. Do you mind giving a kind of a brief 30-second overview on kind of who you are and the type of work you do?
Sure. So I like to call myself a strategist first and a lawyer second. Um, I've been involved in direct response for longer than you've been born. Um, basically, been practicing law, but in direct response world for about 30 plus years, pre-internet. Um, I learned a long, long time ago that if I didn't understand the sales process, I was just a lawyer saying no. So if I'm going to say my claim to fame, it's that I'm able to approach my clients' circumstances, understanding their business, what makes their sales process tick, and I give them advice based upon that. I always lead with strategy. My practice has involved everything from some very well-known personal development companies and into gurus, so to speak, into e-com companies, health and wellness companies, a lot of financial publishers currently going on, emerging brands, some well-known consumer brands, companies going back in time were on using infomercials, direct mail, direct response. Then the internet came and they added tools to my tool belt. I had a lot of initial leaders in selling content when content was never being sold into, the growth of social media and now AI and crypto and NFTs and the rest.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've really appreciated your advice so far. So I'm excited to kind of pick your brain today. There's a few things I want to talk about. I think the first is business trends, and I guess also kind of on the tail end of that, valuations, right? So what's kind of booming spaces, what's kind of interesting, and when clients of yours are going to kind of get acquired or on the other side buy someone, what are typical valuations you're seeing for various industries?
So the answer, there are no typical valuations. And anybody who tells you that in this space is full of crap. Direct response companies, e-com companies, emerging media companies, the whole idea that there's a standard valuation, X times EBITDA, does not work in the startup world. Yes, if you've got private equity and you've moved your way up the pipeline and you've been positioned to be acquired or to go public, different animal. But for 99% of small and medium business, ultimately a company gets sold or bought because the buyer and the seller agree on a price. Okay, and anybody who tells you otherwise is wrong, because there are so many variations on a theme. What the product is it purely virtual? Is it funded enough itself? Is it dependent upon a certain technology? Is the CEO who brought the business from X to Y capable of going from Y to 100 times Y? And as an aside, okay, I have a lot of clients who started businesses in their den as a lifestyle who are now grown and grown and grown. That person may not be the CEO to really bring that business to the forefront. And the most successful clients I have either had a CEO who could learn enough to build the business or were smart enough to step aside.
Yes.
So that's an aside. So the answer is business get bought because there's another company that sees it as a compatible portion of its portfolio, or it's a compatible business that lets one business plus another business equal 10 businesses. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
And that, in that sense, that's really the Berkshire Hathaway model, for example.
Yes.
Okay, and I have a client that was in business in the Silicon Valley for 15 years, and we negotiated with Berkshire Hathaway for 3 years.
Wow.
And they have their own way of thinking, and ultimately we closed, okay, for a lot of money because 1 + 1 = 10.
Yes. Yes. And across like the spectrum of clients you work with, from financial to e-commerce, et cetera, in 2023, is there a space that you think is really hot and really viable?
There's when I'm talking financial, I'm talking about financial newsletter training companies like the Agoras of the world who are bringing financial education and training to the public. And when I'm talking health and wellness, I have clients who are selling supplements or are selling, they have SaaS companies, they're selling tools, or they're selling coaching or training. It seems to me there are always hot niche products. And there it's kind of a race to who gets to the demand first. Like back 18 months ago, the first people into CBD. I'll talk about my philosophy of CBD in a minute. I have clients, a leading client selling crypto information, and they have been solid and they've been steady, even though the market burst and crashed. It's about, in many ways, being a market leader, being a voice of authority, or having that endorser that gives you that aura of being solid is the ultimate way to be successful. Now, look, it could be someone who has no background but comes off as being really a good authority figure. But if we're talking about formulaic marketing, there's nothing better than a great testimonial, right? Or a great talking head. And that certainly has proven out in my clients. My clients who have legitimate, well-established brands that are recognizable with social proof do well. And I'm not talking about, a testimonial where somebody said, I lost 30 pounds in 12 minutes. I'm talking about social proof, meaning you use this product. I love this company. I'd refer it to my friends and family. Social proof works. Or the talking head with real, legitimate background. Or the brand that's tried and true and has awareness. Like I was talking to a client yesterday and I can say who it is, it's Benziga, it's a financial, they have a platform that they make available free and an upgrade. I was pumping gas the other day and they were on the pumping gas network, and it was nothing more than brand awareness. You can't measure ROI on that, but people all of a sudden, they heard it on the pumping gas and now they see it, let alone their phone is knowing that they heard Benziga and they're getting a feed, but nonetheless.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So essentially all the businesses that you work with to some degree are having success, and it really is about strong business fundamentals versus a specific niche, whether it's AI or other.
But let's be clear, Chase. A lot of clients, a lot of businesses go from zero to hero to zero to hero to zero. And if you rest on your laurels, you're going to crash.
Yes.
So my most successful clients are the ones that continue to reinvent themselves or to continue to address the marketplace and continue to listen to their customers and continue to get lead generation.
Yes.
And that's, the key. And they also have blinders on to edit out a lot of the noise. You go to traffic and conversion and you're in front of the hotel in San Diego. If you listen to everybody's advice, your business is going to disappear. You can't, cookie cutter doesn't work long term.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And I know
good leadership and know your avatar, know your customer.
Yeah, 100%. And on that note, I know copy really is at the core of a lot of the things that you've done, and you kind of, I think, identified not just as a lawyer or attorney, but also as a copywriter. How did you learn copy as you were coming up, and how do you think someone can best learn kind of copy
The only
today?
way to understand good copy, there's two things: good copy and compliant copy. Okay, is to read copy.
Yes.
The only way to know what's going on is to constantly read. And I happen to have clients, many of my clients, I'm reviewing all of their copy for compliance, certainly number one, but I also read it for readability, number two, and I'll explain that in a second. And then good format of a hook and a close, because I've been reading copy for so long. But for example, I'll read copy, and yes, I might say something could rather than will, make sure we have substantiation of claims, all that stuff. Try to eliminate all the crappy, tricks and shortcuts that writers write, like Big Pharma is going to shut this offer down. Nonsense. But anyway, I also want to look for just little mistakes, language mistakes, because you only have one chance to keep the audience reading. And if there's a clunker, they're gone. The example I give, and you can see I have a Bruce Springsteen poster over my shoulder. If you went to a Bruce Springsteen concert and Roy Bittan, who plays the piano, hit a bad note, when you left that night, what are you going to remember? The bad note.
Yeah.
So if you have a VSL script, which is otherwise moving fine, but your choice of word in one key transition just sucks, chances are you're going to lose your audience. They're going to click away. So wait, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, where'd that come from? Avoid the clunkers. So I help avoid clunkers on top of everything else. But my ability to read copy is just from reading copy.
Nice. And you mentioned before you had a thought on CBD. So I want to ask you what that thought on CBD was, and then using CBD as a use case, for example, maybe what are some mistakes people write when they're writing copy for CBD?
So CBD, as it was first came out, and to some extent to now, people just are so driven that they have to make a health claim. When you're selling a supplement or something like CBD, you can't say it's going to cure a specific disease because there are no studies.
Yes.
Okay? Still today, there aren't. But copywriters were making such blatant mistakes, and they were getting shut down left and right. As the CBD market has matured, let's say over the last 2 to 3 years, there's been so much editorial stories in the news about people's use of CBD, and so many people now using CBD, okay, that the copywriter doesn't have to talk about the reason to use it. People are now buying CBD like they buy vitamin C.
Yes.
It's known. You're not in a VSL or an email campaign or a social media campaign. Convince someone who's not a CBD user to become one. Because to do that, you have to try too hard. Right now, you don't have to. There are so many people who are buying CBD products. You are selling vitamin C. So you need to sell on a good story, meaning price and quantity, price and quality. That's what it is. Now, I've had clients who talk about lifestyle, fine, to differentiate their brand. But you don't have to try that hard. You just have to appeal to the buyer who is shopping.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And if you do that, you're compliant.
I like that.
But again, so clients, I still see copy where people are trying too hard to convince the non-user of CBD that they need CBD. You're not making that sale.
Yeah, it's
Let
kind of
the New York
interesting.
the New York Times and Time Magazine and you name a blogger. They've already educated the public. Price and quality.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're kind of at this interesting point where, like, with AI, by saying you have an AI product, you have an advantage, right? Because it's so early. That wave with CBD is past, I think, in a sense, where CBD is not the differentiator like it used to. 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
saying my product has CBD, that was new and exciting, and I think that got people to try it. That was the early adopters in the wave. I think
Right.
with AI, we're at the early part of people saying their products are now AI and they're driving a lot of buzz. Whether that's substantial, whether that's going to last, TBD. But it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's new to me. I'm still kind of evaluating the buzz of AI in products. I've had clients developing, copywriting AI stuff for years now. And look, and I have clients using AI for like advertorial, SEO kind of article stuff, where it makes a lot of sense. If the next question is, do you think it supplants and replaces the copywriters listening to this? The answer is, it's not going to replace the good ones.
Agreed.
There is a difference. Let's be clear. I do represent some of the top direct response copywriters themselves. Always have. There is a big difference between great copywriting and averagely shitty copywriting.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
But the challenge is that formulaic, average shitty copywriting still sells. So you asked me before we got on, could I, the behind the scene things I could talk about. I have conversations all the time with C-level people with big direct response companies. And we talk about the elegance of a good writing piece and how we'd love to do X, Y, and Z. But we always know that formulaic, average, shitty copywriting still works.
Yes.
So you have to balance between elegance and practicality.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
But I still wish that health and wellness copywriters would stop saying that big pharma is going to shut their offer down, because that's horseshit.
Okay, you heard it here first. What I want to talk about, and I want to get your take on it. So I guess the front part of it is, like, I'd imagine with what you're doing now, you've been in this for 30 plus years. most of your clients come from referrals, I got to imagine. For folks listening, and Bo, I'll let you answer that in 1 second. For folks listening, a lot of them are one client, five clients, 10 clients. They probably haven't gotten to the point of referrals. And a lot of them look at things like cold email and LinkedIn messages. And where I want to go with this is I think there's a lot of confusion and kind of question marks around like B2B cold email. Is it legal? Is it not legal? And obviously you can give whatever disclaimers you need to, but like what makes a cold email compliant or legal? So I guess that's a two-part question.
My practice has been built, yes, upon a very large network that I've developed, but it was strategically developed over many years with strong relationships that I followed up on. With many relationships, I invested my time and my pocketbook in, meaning I collected an influencer, I didn't bill them.
Yeah.
Okay. Which has paid off dramatically. Yeah. You have to know when to put in the sweat equity. And yes, I get referrals all the time. It seems to me that the LinkedIn model, which is fabulous, it's nice, it's a B2B marketplace, but you have to be creative in it. So a mass marketed pitch is going to be ignored because everybody's seeing them. So be creative. So I've done this where I might see something that's really interesting to me. Use the extra time and your brains to target a message to someone and say, hey, I saw you did this and this and this and this, and I really think you might think about that, and maybe I could help you with that. And then it takes you out of just being, a form letter kind of pitch, which it's spam.
Yes.
Differentiate yourself. For sure.
Yeah.
It will pay off.
Yeah, agreed. And then
create some content. I've written white papers through the years. There were certain times through the last 15 years, for example, when there were big changes in, for example, FTC rules. Like the FTC changed the testimonial rule 12 years ago or so. I wrote a white paper upon it at that time, and it made me a fortune.
Yep.
Okay.
You become the authority of it.
Yes. Or a year and a half ago, a big case standing down called Raging Bull in the financial publishing world, where the FTC blew apart a company that was using all the tricks of the trade. The next day, I wrote a white paper. I wrote an article on LinkedIn on it, shared it with all my clients. Even
The
people
timeliness, the commentary, the expertise, giving it away for free, right?
My first direct response client at the time, I was doing franchise work primarily back in the day. And I was doing this work for a pretty well-known personal development guru who I can't disclose. And the CFO knew I was working on documents that Federal Trade Commission on them. When you sell franchises, you have a disclosure document that says Federal Trade Commission. And the guy said to me, "You're a FTC expert, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he introduced me to my first direct response client, which was a company called the Charles Givens Organization. He was in Altamont Springs, Florida. He was the personal financial guru at the time on the Today Show. Had a book called Wealth Without Risk. It was pre-internet, infomercials, 5 different infomercials, live events all over the country. I solved the problem for them because I anointed myself an FTC expert, which I became for him. And that was my ultimate laboratory. I got thrown into this thing, and at the time said, if I need to understand how this works, or I'm just a lawyer saying no. And that's my first step into the direct response world.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
I think that piece around like branding yourself, or in your case, kind of being branded as the FTC guy. For me, I've built my career on being the email guy. Other people are the Facebook ads girls or the copywriting girl. I think that's so key. Are you able to speak to like the cold email piece? Like what makes a cold email compliant? Do people need like unsubscribes?
Canned spam is a very big problem to this day. I have many clients who are facing shakedowns from class action lawyers in California. They're proliferating. It's a problem. It's primarily a problem derived from the affiliate networks. Okay, so I'll talk about it really quickly. You can send somebody an email, but you must give them a way to say stop, which means You must have an unsubscribe link on your email. You must have your address, physical address. That's the basic. I don't want to hear from you anymore. You have to abide by that.
Yep.
If you said to me, I don't want to hear from you anymore, that means I can't mail to you anymore, nor can any of my affiliates mail to you anymore.
Yes.
It takes it a step further. Your from must be a real from. Your subject line can't be misleading. How do I judge whether it's misleading? I can't. Okay? It's very gray. But from being real, unsubscribe link, and abiding by the consumer's wishes. Unsubscribe them. That's the basics, okay? There are state variations. Those are the basics.
Cool.
So what happens? So here's what happens. All these rules get set up by legislatures that are tech idiots, or they're ancient. When CAN-SPAM got set up, there was no such thing as affiliate marketing. So guess what happens? People start mailing for other people. I have taken your name off my list, and now I have an affiliate who's mailing to his 100,000 names. But you're on his list, his 100,000 names. To be compliant, he needs to scrub you off. So suppression lists are important, and they need to be followed. Okay? And that's right now the weak link. Because I, in 2023, go to an affiliate network to mail for me. Okay? The affiliate networks are groups of individuals who have names, many of whom are sitting in trailer parks somewhere with a high-speed line, and they don't give a shit about my suppression list.
Right.
And they mail. However, there are a bunch of California lawyers who have paid plaintiffs who are on all those lists. And they are bringing claims, and they are shakedowns because you don't want to defend them, it costs too much, and they don't want to pursue them, and it's this dance.
Yeah.
And they settle for unfortunately, for a lot of money. There is a company, ISP in Salt Lake City called X-Mission, that part of their business model is bringing CAN-SPAM claims against companies mailing into Utah.
Wow.
And I have two clients fighting them because the stakes are hundreds of thousands of dollars. CAN-SPAM compliance. A real from, okay? Don't make up a real from. If it means filing a DBA for what you want the from to be, do it, okay? So you're a skincare company, and you might have in the past said acne free. If that's what you want to do, file a DBA certificate in your state that your company is known as acne free. It will save you a lot of money. All right, a non-misleading subject line. Leave that as it may. A real unsubscribe link, a real physical address, and abide within 10 days to not mail, and have a suppression list that you share and you police, okay? If you are doing affiliate offers, not to the networks, have a real affiliate agreement, okay, that makes it clear what the rules of CAN-SPAM are, that make it clear that the affiliate affiliate is responsible if they fuck up, okay?
Yep. And
if you're hiring an affiliate network, make sure you get a clear indemnification that if they're a problem, they pay. Yep. CAN-SPAM is a problem.
Yeah, it's super helpful. The last question I have, I feel like there's a million and one acronyms, right, of GDPR and CCPA and all these others. In the future, do you envision every state has their own thing and this just becomes a nightmare? Like, where is this going?
Okay. Number one, I will send you overviews of, it's now CPRA, which used to be CCPA in California, and GDPR. Glad to. So let Chase know, and I'm glad to share that. I also have some white papers on the testimonial rule, social media endorsement rules. I'm glad to share that with anybody who wants it. I'll give you my email. Just email me.
Thank you.
Okay. See, I'm a marketer too. Look, privacy law has always been, you set your privacy policy and you have to live by it. Americans have been legendarily bad at paying attention to privacy. as individuals.
Yeah.
Europeans were much more careful, and that's why GDPR came on first. CCPA is the most, and now CPR, they've changed it, is the first real extensive, comprehensive privacy law in the United States. Let's think about why California, because big tech is in California.
Yeah.
GDPR came out, everybody freaked out. Okay, what do I have to do? Well, it's not as if you're targeting into the EU, you need to be compliant with GDPR. But Chase, if you have somebody on your list who lives in Jersey City, but they happen to be French, how are you supposed to know that?
Right.
So I have a tempered approach. I'm pragmatic here. However, California is based upon the size of your business and has certain requirements, meaning do not sell my information. People have heard about this. Again, we have an overview of CPRA. I'd be glad to send you. The thresholds have gotten much higher. For the average person listening to this, it's not really a concern. Yeah. We have some basic disclosures you should have in a privacy policy. By the way, everybody listening should have a comprehensive terms of service and privacy policy, not something you copied from somebody else.
Yeah.
Chances are it might be mine. That happens all the time. New clients come to me. First thing I do is look at their privacy policy, and they took it from another one of my clients. But that just means I'm doing my job.
Yeah, yeah.
But ultimately, my crystal ball says there will be a federal privacy law, and it'll be obsolete when it's promulgated, because Congress is tech ignorant.
Interesting.
Privacy laws shouldn't concern anybody.
Okay, that's helpful. Peter, this is great. Any other advice, copywriting, legal, marketing that you wanted to share?
For me, the takeaway would be mindset is everything, okay? You got to see the forest for the trees, and remember that you're in business. Even if you're a service provider writing copy for other people, ultimately you're in business and your clients are in business. So you have to gain some business sense. And that means seeing the forest for the trees. People can tell from a mile away if you're desperate, okay? Yes. But people can also tell from a mile away if you're serious, you know your stuff. If you don't know it, you'll find out. And that you understand that you're part of the process, okay? And the process is to make your business or your clients successful. So, I mean, I made a conscious decision 12 years ago to say I'm a strategist. And if you look at my website, it says I'm a marketer who happens to be a lawyer. But it took me a long time to realize that. So understand what your key selling proposition is and live by it.
That's amazing.
And how does it work with lawyering, with compliance? It does. Because if you're genuine, you're not going to make a mistake.
Right. Yeah, this is great. What's the best way for people to learn more about you, read your stuff? Is it a website? Is it a social media?
Yeah, I have a website. It's peterhoppenfeld.com. And I do have a business Facebook group, although I could take better care of it. You can email me. I'd be glad to send you some of these business guides that we've developed just in rendering service to our clients. Reach out to Chase. He knows how to get me. Yep. And I'm glad to help anybody. I love having conversations. I don't charge for consultations. I'm glad to help problem solve. If I can help you in any way, come on down.
Awesome. Peter, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chase.
Of course.